Coolio. Thanks for being here. So as I said, today's session, wow, very, very excited. Prepared some things. Let's start easy. Okay, if you go in the pinned post, by now you should know how that works. Just give me the takeaway in this post, the top post from day 3. All right, we went into, well, I'm not going to say, I'm not going to repeat. I'll just let you just share your takeaway. We'll start easy. Also, leave some time for people coming a little late. Hello, everyone who just joined. What we're doing is we're just in the pinned post and we're easing into the session, and it's just sharing what the takeaway was from yesterday. Just one. Okay. That's all we're doing for now. So let me see. The habits loop. Okay. The 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. People are ready. That's good to know. Small cues drive into good habit, right? Okay, the train track, that one cue exactly is going to determine what we're going to do in the next minutes or maybe hours or the entire evening. Habits loop. Bought Atomic Habits book on Audible. Okay, that's great. Yeah, so that, yeah, it's a phenomenal book. My recommendation with the book is to absolutely do everything that James is asking to do, like implement. Don't just read it, because it's really easy to just kind of go ahead, oh, the next chapter, and not actually do or reflect on the things he's asking. Right? So it's a book that you can take your time reading. Helen bought it too. Great. Habits loop, small changes. Okay, cool. So to frame us up for today, like, look, in the last 8 years, I spent more than 200,000 euros, actually even Swiss francs, on personal development. That's like 25,000 a year, right? It's pretty good. And it included like business stuff, like tools and strategies, but also some of it was like the really, really deep stuff. And what I realized after like 2 years is that for me, even the best strategies and the best tools from people that really knew what they were doing and it worked for hundreds of others, they didn't work for me. And the question is, why didn't they work for me? And I realized that it wasn't because the strategies were scammy or not good or anything. But I had beliefs about myself that would pull me back to where I started. So I was here, this is where I wanted to go, and then I started getting going, and then those beliefs that I had about me, right, some of them conscious, some of them not conscious, they would pull me back to where I started. Like, there's different dynamics, but one of them is, it's really easy to explain, just so you have an idea, picture. It's called a conflict in belief. So an example would be, let's say somebody grows up, and everybody around that person, the family, the friends, the neighborhood, it's a very poor person in the sense that they don't have a lot of money. And they might have an idea, hey, like I do want to make more money so that I can, and then fill in the blank, like give back to the people, give to my mom and my, whatever, right? But then often what these people experience is that also they have a belief that rich people are assholes, or rich people are lonely and stuff like that, or my family and my friends are going to hate me when I'm rich. So you can see there's a conflicting belief, and then depending on which of those beliefs has more power, how the subconscious works, it will like pull us back into where we started. Okay, so in a way, we always choose what we believe delivers the highest payoff or the least pain available to us in this specific moment. And that could be consciously or it could be unconsciously, right? And then if it's unconscious, then obviously it's a bigger problem because we don't know that it's happening. We feel that it's happening, but we don't know why. Okay? And today I want to provide you with the information that you possibly need to see and understand more of what is going on so that you can apply it in your life. I can't tell you how to apply it in your life because you know best, but what I can do, I can share my experience and what I've learned over the years. Okay? And there's one other big lesson that I learned, and it was this. I wasn't willing to explore failure. I would feel very excited about looking into, okay, this is the dream, this is the goal, okay, let's go. But I wasn't courageous enough to really look at what failure would mean. And it's a very, very important part. Like, if we want to look at success, what that looks like, we have to be willing, not that we want the failure, but we have to be willing to explore what failure really means. Because when we have a clear picture of what failure means, then that is a very powerful motivational driver. Okay, so I invite you for today's session to be open to explore failure in family dynamics, with you, with your child, whatever, with no judgment whatsoever. I just invite you to do it because you're going to get a lot more out of that. Does that make sense? Can you type like a yes or something in the pinned post if you're cool with that? And if not, you play like on a different level. It's also okay. But I really invite you because this is a big important thing. Okay, you guys seem to be cool. Okay. Then I just want you to close your eyes for a second. And at your own time, and I'm going to do, like, at your own time, just take 3 deep breaths, okay? In through the nose, out through the nose. Make sure you start with empty lungs, and then just breathe in until you're full, and then exhale. You can also exhale through the mouth. Just take 3 deep breaths on your own. Okay? Just relax. Okay, so let's work with a 15-year-old. Okay, I have a sense that could be quite on it. A 15-year-old is spending, let's say, hours on social media every day, and you speak to them about it, and they say that they have big dreams and that social media isn't that good for them, and they still scroll on social media. There's only 2 options what that means. Okay? The option number 1 is that they believe on some level that it's good for them. Okay? I'll explain more. Or the alternative is that they think the alternative of not being glued to their phone would be worse. But it has to be one of the 2, because we always do what we believe is best for us in this present moment. Okay? So in other words, if the teenager is spending hours on social media, he or she's always getting something that they believe serves them, even if it looks bad or, lazy or whatever from the outside. Okay? So if they genuinely believe something magical, amazing would happen if they didn't scroll on social media all the time, and if they still scroll, then they don't actually believe it's true enough to act on it. Or, and we're going to explore that first, there's another belief that is louder. And that is usually around like fear, it's identity, it's belonging, it's comfort, and so on. Okay, so in other words, behavior follows the strongest belief with the highest emotional charge. Not the belief that we or they say they have. It's the one that has the highest emotional charge. We call that the belief that has the power. Okay? Not what they're saying, but the emotional charge. Okay? And then what that might mean for the parents. So say like the teenager has a big dream. They typically agree that just mindlessly scrolling isn't the best for them, then what does that mean? Like, how do you, as a parent, we're going to switch perspective to us parents now. What does it mean for you? So you see, they say they have this dream, they want this. They agree that social media isn't the best for them. They probably could be doing better stuff like stretching or like sleeping and, right? Because they're not idiots. But what is it that you see? Like, is it, pop it in the chat. Is it like, oh, my kid is wasting their life? Is it that they're lazy? Is it that they're addicted? Like, what is it that comes up for you within your specific? There's no right and wrong. It's just, what do you experience? And then please drop that in the chat. So, okay, so we got addiction. Hiding from hard things. Okay, fantastic. See that? Addiction. And thank you, by the way, for playing along, because now we're exploring failure and stuff, right? So this is exactly where we want to be. Just a silly addiction. So we got, okay, so a lot of, okay, fear of missing out. Yep, okay. Hiding from the days, what has to be done. It's easier to just scroll. Okay. So there's still several people typing. So I want to, okay, so there's fun. Yep. Okay. So there's fun. Okay. But how do you, Mariana, so they're having fun, or your kid is having fun on social media, but what do you see? Like, do you fully agree? Like, yeah, okay, this is giving them fun, or what do you see? Staying in a comfort zone, relax, don't think about anything. Okay. So, yep. That she is not ready to change the comfort zone, to get out of it, wasting time. And then I'll do this one. My son has time limit for screen usage, but seems to be the main way to communicate with other children at his age. Yeah, communication. Okay. Okay, wasting time. Okay, that's how you experience it. Great. Now, here's the important part for you. And again, no judgment whatsoever, right? We all do it and it's totally okay. It's just good to kind of know about it so we can change the course of action. Whatever interpretation that you have, it does become a part of the entire dynamic. And I don't know if you ever heard me say that, but like, if you have a belief, your brain is working day and night to prove you right? So just an example, if you see and tend to think there's an addiction, that you will, in your communication, in your thoughts, in your emotions, in your behavior, you will include addiction in the dynamic, right? So your job becomes, as a parent, becomes to not fight the behavior, but first we need to decode what the payoff is for your kid. And I can't do that for you. Okay, but I'll give you the roadmap, but then you have to do it. So you don't fight the behavior, you decode what is it that they're getting out of scrolling on social media. Okay, and of course this would work in the exact same way with anything other than screen time. Okay, but we're using this example because it's a really good one and it's a very relevant one. So let's look at what these other beliefs that may be louder in the consciousness of your kid could be. Okay, and I prepared something for you, so we can move through this a little faster, and I'm happy to share my notes and stuff. Can you give me a thumbs up if this is good to see? Yeah, cool. All right. So you see, I have identified 6. I'm sure there's more, but we'll work with those for now. Okay, so we have the belief pattern. Then the child belief, it's very similar, what the child believes. Then what the parent sees or may see. Okay, I'm not saying this is 100%, but it's just my experience, but usually it's pretty good. And then what's really being protected. And we'll go through those one by one. So the first one that I identified is just, this is how I belong. Okay? This is how I belong. And what the child believes is if I'm not online, I'm not in the group. So if, I'll make this a bit shorter, if not online, not included. Okay? And like some variations of that, right? Don't take it all like it. I'm just trying to make this like big picture overview. Yeah. Now, what the parent sees, it may be compulsive checking. You know, checking frequently, way too often, and it could also be that you observe panic when you take the phone away, or you know, when no phone, right? Because they're freaking out. What's really being protected, this one is easy, right? It's connection. It's one of the human needs for sure. And then also, we could say like some kind of like social safety. Right? So that's the first. This is how I belong. Child belief, if I'm not online, I'm not included. What you guys see will depend, but usually just, you know, they're like constantly on it and stuff. And then what is really being protected, I think this is not I think, I know this column here is going to be the most important one, right? What's really being protected is connection. Cool. Number 2 is this, and again, this is from the child, right? Helps me regulate my emotions. My emotions. Make sense? The child belief is just that this makes me feel better, calmer, less bored, less stressed. Okay, so just this makes me feel better. And again, that could be less bored. Yeah, maybe make a note because I don't have space to do that here. Calmer, less stressed. This is going to be important when we get to the end of today's lesson, is how, because you want to find out that specificity, because for somebody who will feel less bored, it's going to be different than for somebody who feels less stressed, right? The course of action is going to be different. So what the parent sees, maybe like zoning out, right? Could be avoidance, that they go in their room. Yeah. And then what is really being protected, that's the important one, is just, okay, real deal for swimmers, nervous system regulation. Okay. That's the second one. The third one that I know of is if I stop, this is mine. I will feel my life. You know what I mean by that, right? So the kid believe if I'm not distracted, I will feel my anxiety or my loneliness or the pressure or the emptiness. Yeah. How am I going to put that on this little thing? If I'm not distracted, and then we'll just distract it, and we'll just fill in the blank. I will feel my life. I have to be with my thoughts. Okay, and then what the parent sees, maybe procrastination, or sometimes also described as low motivation. Okay, or like late night scrolling and stuff. Okay, that will show up in number 3 mostly. And then what's really being protected is having the uncomfortable feelings, right? So what this is it's an avoidance of having or like of having to deal with yeah, let's just call them uncomfortable feelings, right? That's why they distract, so I don't have to have that. This is number 3 is very much my tendency, because sometimes I have some dark thoughts when I'm alone. I'm like, yeah, it's easier to turn on TikTok and just like scroll a little bit, right? Okay, number 4, next one is this is my identity. This is my identity. It's my identity. Okay, you could also say it's my identity and where I know stuff. So the child is like, the belief is online, I am somebody. I'm somebody. And offline, I'm not. Offline, I'm not. Make sense? And then what you as a parent could see is an obsession for likes, right? For example, what other? Yeah, like followers and stuff, right? Status, hunting followers and all that. Now, what's really protected here, it's a really big one, is just self-worth. Okay, this is straight up self-worth. Number 5 is I have to be informed. I have to be updated, right? I need to be in the loop. I need to be in the loop. It's like constant. So what the child believes is like, if I'm not watching, I'll miss something important, right? It's like us checking the news or something like that. So I'll just say I'll miss something important. Something important. And then what you see is just constant checking, right? Constantly on the phone. Or it could be multitasking too, right? Doing multitasking. Okay. And then what's been protected here is they want to have control over an uncertain world, or like in an uncertain world, if that makes sense. Of let's just say like uncertainty. Okay. And then the last one is, I'll call this rebellion. Rebellion equals freedom. Teenagers. Right? Their belief is the phone in a way is the thing that is theirs. So just phone is mine. Right? That's what they believe. And then the parents could see lying, hiding, and like these fights, power struggles is a better word. Fights. And what's being protected here is pretty easy, is autonomy. Right? To make their own decision. Does that make sense? Can you give me a yes if you're still here? if that makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense, it's cool to say. It's always if it doesn't make sense, right? It's never dead. We always say that in the academy. If the kids don't get it, come and ask, because then it's never your fault. It's whoever was talking. It's fault. Okay, Jovan, kind of. We can work with that. Okay. Well, in a second, we're gonna go to what we can actually, how we're gonna put this into action. So look, I want to show you. Oh, I want to show you one more thing that I prepared. Wait, just page so it looks less. To set it up. So look, we covered the first scenario where they have a belief that is louder. Something, social media is giving them something. That's why they choose to do it. But now there's the other scenario that there would be this magical thing that they would be, let's say, hugely successful in swimming and in life, and they still scroll on social media, right? So if the swimmer claims they believe something amazing would actually happen if they stopped with the scrolling or reduced the scrolling, but they don't stop, here's my sense what's going on. And there's 4 things that could be happening. Share my screen again. The first thing could be that that the belief of the magic, the cool thing, is not embodied. Okay, so they're having thoughts about it, but that's it. It's just, it's the same thing in the very beginning. If you remember, I was talking about the difference between, I think I said it, between being in motion and actually taking action. Because the physical world here works with action. And being in motion means maybe doing preparation for, let's say if you want to write a book. You do everything imaginable, the research, connecting with people and stuff, right? Everything around like writing a book, but you don't actually write a single sentence for the book, right? So then you're in motion, but you're not in action. Okay? And this could be happening. That's one of the things that could be happening, that they're thinking about it, but it's just thoughts. They haven't really integrated it. Make sense? So they want it to be true, but they don't feel it's real. Right? And stuff that we do in the academy, for example, for those kind of things is we give them, like, we ask them a question. What tiny little thing, experiment, let's say, could you do so that it becomes more real for you? Or like, let's test it over this weekend, not forever. Right? So that starts to make it, and ideally they get like a good experience from that, and that starts building the realness of this. Okay, that's the first thing that could happen. The second thing here, B, that could happen, is that they fear change more than they desire the magic outcome. Because magic equals uncertainty, and uncertainty feels unsafe. Right? And because of that, what we do in the academy then is to say, okay, you don't have to quit completely, just reduce by 10% and watch what happens. Right? So then that way they don't have to give up this and go all in on something that is totally uncertain, but they can like ease into it and take baby steps and get used to it. Right? Then C, the third thing that could be happening is that they don't believe that they deserve this beautiful outcome. Okay? And this one got a lot of girls, and more girls than guys in my experience. This is a quiet one, and it's around like shame and low self-worth. Maybe even guilt. Right? And those are really low vibrations. Okay? And what we do in the academy to kind of counter that, if I notice, okay, somebody is struggling with that, then what we do is we don't use disappointment as a motivation, because for some it works really well. They do bad and they're back on Monday morning more motivated than ever. But we stop using that, and then instead we make it about like belonging and encouragement, right? Exactly what we do on camp. So the message that I want them to get and feel is that we're on your team, and so is everybody else here. Right? Works really well if that is the case, if they don't believe that they deserve that magical outcome. And then the last thing is just that they don't actually know what that magic is. Right? And that's a problem, because if it's vague, then it competes with social media being very concrete. Right? So you have these polar opposites. And so what we do in the academy to deal with that, this is a pretty easy one to do, is when we just ask them to describe what it means. Like, do you want more confidence? Then you can do what? You want to be in a better mood? Do you want to have better friendships? Oh, and then what does that mean about, okay, if you had better friendships, then what would become possible? So they start to paint the picture of what it's like. Okay, and that's where visualization and stuff is very, very powerful, or journaling, just writing down what it is that they want and spending time. That's why it's easy. You just got to spend time thinking about it, and then that one usually goes away. Sorry, Windows 11 just came up here. Does that make sense? Okay, so before we go into the actual game plan, okay, it's like a 6-step thing. Did you enjoy this? Did you enjoy that session? Okay. Maybe like the most powerful. Well, no, they're all powerful because they're like build on each other, but the game plan is still coming. So before I give you the gameplay, what you guys can do today, starting today, right? Obviously, this is a project that is going to go on for a while, and you're going to have to, but like, remember what I said. Childlike mindset. Tackle this with curiosity, with calmness, with creativity, imagination, and you will be successful. And also, do not be afraid to look at your own shit. Everybody has, what I mean by that is the things that we carry with us that haven't really dissolved yet, because otherwise we would be like, enlightened, and we're not. Let's be real. And so part of that process is to always look at yourself also, and then work with the child, with the kid, to create something amazing. And I don't want to scare you, but I had to look it up because I saw something on social media a while ago. Depending on how old your kid is, and there's differences all the time, I get that. But what they say is at 75% of your time that you spend with your kid in your lifetime is done when they're 12. 90% of it is going to be done by the age they're 18. Think about that one. So you don't have as many years as I do. And then at some point, I'm going to be exactly in your shoes. And you've brought children into this world. I'm getting emotional now, right? Because that is your passion, that is your path. And so the best way to just approach this, whatever you want to change and however you want to support, is you go and remember, like, to go in a passionate, childlike, curious state, and then tackle everything from there, and think about what is left in terms of like the interaction with your child, like realistically, right? Where they still need you, because at some point they're going to be out of the house and stuff, and they're not, you know what I mean? So you have a little bit time left. And then hopefully that will give you the motivation to make the right choices, whatever they are. I can't tell you what they are, but you will be informed. You get inspirations. There will be synchronicity. Okay, there's the spiritual stuff. And then when you see, when your soul sends you good information and, hey, maybe try this and stuff, then do it. Act on your passion and do it. Because you act on your passion. You know why? Because when the soul knows everything. You're a soul, right? And you have a physical body. You're in a virtual reality kind of experience here. The soul sends you stuff, information, hints, right? So that you become your true self. And here's the interesting part. Everybody says, yeah, follow the joy and stuff. But why? Because the soul sends those signals to you, into the physical body, and how the physical mind, the brain, decodes that, the thing that is right for you and your family, is when you feel passion. That is why it's so powerful to follow your passion and your joy, because that is your soul speaking to you, that knows everything, and your body decoding, okay, this is it. This is the direction I must go into. Does that make sense? And if you do that, you can't go wrong. I'll succeed. If you don't, you learn a lesson and you move on, right? But childlike mindset, calm, immensely curious, imaginative, and creative. Okay? All right. Guys, the action task. Can we do it together? Oh, let's do it together, please. And only if you're, look, in the classroom, if you go in the classroom and you go to session 4, because it's only going to take like a minute or two. When you scroll to the bottom, I would love for you to give us at Swimpros a review about this challenge. Now, I say here, submit a 5-star review. Okay, so if it is a 5-star, please use this Google link and say a sentence or two about the challenge. There's some suggestions here. I'll leave it open to you. If it wasn't a 5-star experience, and we still have a day, but if it wasn't a 5-star experience, then please also, and I'll count that to the perfect score contest. It's not about, like, I just want to get the feedback. Write me an email, because it kind of like hurts the, how the reputation is really important in today's world and stuff. So if it's not a 5-star, I would love for you to just give me honest feedback at david@swimpros.com and share that with me, like why it wasn't a 5-star. So I can do things differently next time I'm running it, because we're planning on running a lot of these because I like running them and people say they're useful. Okay, so can you please just click that link if it is a 5-star, and in your own words, I wrote down, why did you sign up for the challenge? What motivated you? What was your biggest takeaway, or maybe the favorite part of the challenge as an idea? And then what would you say to another swim parent who might be considering joining the next round? If you could do that, that would mean the world to me. And again, if it's not a 5-star, it's totally cool. I'm not going to take it personal, and I can learn from that. And then just drop me an email. I'll give you like 2 minutes or so, and then we're going to do the last part, the action step, or the implementation of it. Does anybody have a question? Oh, hold on, I'll make sure that you can unmute. Does anybody have a question that I can answer in a minute?
Yeah, I was wondering, so I find everything makes sense, but in this particular case, I find that we're not fighting with equal weapons, I would say, because social media and screen and everything is made to render people addictive. And what we can, I mean, even if we have identified the core need and the core, I don't know how it's called. So the last column that you cited. So this is pretty easy, but what do we offer them as an alternative is a lot less stimulating and addictive than what social media offers. So yeah, visualization is great, but it takes effort. And a lot more than just scrolling and yeah.
Sure, but yes, but so is other things like alcoholism, smoking cigarettes, heroin. Like there's a lot of things that might be more addictive even, and people have been doing it for 30 years and not just for like 5. And they also, like a lot of the stuff that I learned, right? It's coming from like looking at addiction, because I agree, it is. And I was that guy, but you have to give them an alternative. You have to give them an alternative, because that we think we get these things that we get from social media, it's bullshit. We just think that. And that's what I'm saying. If we believe, so now's a good opportunity for you to look at yourself and be like, okay, I'm thinking this is really hard and stuff. Then that is what you project onto the kids, because that is your belief. And again, our brains, they are not truth seekers. The brains don't want to know the truth. The only job the brain has is to prove the beliefs that you have and prove you right. Not what's in your best interest and stuff. It's just to prove you right. That's why we have fights with people that we love very much because we'd rather in that moment choose to be right than happy. Right? That is so. You see, right? So, but we need a good alternative, and I'll walk you through what I have, has been working for me, what has worked with like one-on-one clients and stuff that I had. I'll walk you through it, and then you have to go and like apply that because you know your family's environment, and then you test. And if it doesn't work, then you go back to okay, passionate state. Okay, that didn't work. I know one way that doesn't work, and you move on to the next, and you keep doing that because you're passionate about giving the best chances and giving what is true for your children. If they truly tell you, hey, no, I want to be on social media, I hate everybody, leave me alone, like then let them do that. But most of the kids I speak to, they agree that they would love to be less on social media. So when they tell you and you can feel it's true for them, then you can help them. Then you have permission to come in and help them. If they don't give you permission, then it's very different. Then it's different. That's why I asked you guys if I have permission to kind of to do that, and I just give information because it's not on me to tell you what you do with it. And also, I don't know, you know, because you have all the information in your environment, particularly, right? How that would fit or not. Okay, cool. So here's the 6-step plan. Wait, I can share my screen. Give me a second. Let me just make this a little bigger, and I'll share it. I will share it in the notes. Cool. Just make this a little bigger so I can see. Okay. We'll go one by one. I'll black this out. Just like I deal with the kids. Sorry, just working on it. Here. Now I'm gonna have to make this bigger. How do I do that here? We'll do 200. Okay, so what parents can do today as a suggestion. Swimpros for parents, Swimpros system for parents. So first thing, when you start to apply that childlike curiosity is you validate the benefit. So it could be, I can tell your phone is doing something important to you. Right? That's like not fighting it, but like going on their side. The next thing that you could do is you get very, very curious about the payoff. Okay? What do you get from it, scrolling, that you don't get elsewhere? And guys, I can already see it. Oh, I don't know. So you cannot accept that as an answer. And when I used to do like sales calls and stuff a little while ago, that when people did not want to explore failure, well, what happened? So let's say they've been struggling for like a year and in competition, super nervous and stuff, and I ask them, okay, well, what's going to happen if it continues for another 6 months or a year? They're like, oh, that's not going to happen. I was like, how do you know? Like, why not? They weren't, so you can't let them off the hook at that point. So you have to be conversationally cool to loop around until you get the answer and they tell you. They're not going to say, oh, it's my identity confirmation. They're not going to say it like that, but you want to get to what are they getting? How does it make them feel? Right? And you might have to do a couple of loops. It doesn't make any sense to move on until you have what the payoff is for them. Yeah? It may change from day to day, but usually there's like one big one. For me, it's like, I don't want to, for me, it's distraction. To not have to sit, because like meditation for me is like sitting on hot coals. And I get that's just a belief that I have and stuff. Again, that's my stuff. But yeah. Right? So you want to get that. Then the next one is, oops, I want to make this nicer. The next one is, you want to name, okay, this is 3. You want to name the trait. So what does it cost you? And that's exploring failure in a way. What happens if you continue to be on social media every day? Okay, you want them, again, you know, or probably know, but you want them to talk to you about it and not you saying, oh, this is going to happen. Because imagine a sales guy, if I say, oh, you know what? If you don't come into my program, then this is going to happen. They're going to go like, who the fuck are you? But if you can help them through conversation, that they go, huh, I never thought about it, but I guess this would happen, and then this, and right, and you just like, oh, really? Okay, and and sometimes you can be like, really, that bad? And yeah, probably worse, right? It's just conversational fluency. But you want to get to the thing, what is it costing you? Make sense? Then, what you can do, you can offer experiments, okay, not ultimatums, because it's like a life or death decision, which pure pressure, not where we want to be. We can just run small. We did one last year that was pretty successful. We said one weekend, we did the no phone weekend challenge or whatever in the school group, to not look at social media for the weekend, and then report back with what happened and stuff. Right? Because then if they do it, and I do it with others and stuff, and they notice, hey, I'm still here, my friends are still here, and I had some fun doing other things, great. That's a base, it's a start, okay? Then, also very important, you want to kind of co-create boundaries with them. Okay, so I just put one sentence, let's pick rules that protect your sleep, your training, and your mood. Okay, because usually with that, for swimmers, they will agree with that. If they're having a Sunday, they have no exams, they have no training and nothing, and they're on social media, they might have a logical case. But if during the week and stuff, this one would probably make a lot of sense, and I would probably agree. So you want to co-create that together, though. You don't want to tell them what it is, you want to co-create. And then lastly, very important, you want to build replacements. So if the phone helps with stress, then we need start with one, maybe two if you have to, tools to reduce stress. Like going for a walk together, doing some breathing together, stretching with the kid, whatever, right? If they say, oh, I feel like I'm not in touch with my friends, then give them the phone and have them call a friend for like 5 or 10 minutes and catch up, or do voice notes or something instead of like chatting and Snapchatting back and forth and back and forth. Or have them stay longer after training, make sure they eat something and stuff so they can hang out with their friends a little bit. Right? But very important, and again, you need to be creative. But when you're passionate about it and you're curious about it and you listen to what your kid is saying, the guidance will be given to you what the best way moving forward is, what to try next. Okay? But we need to replace the thing. That's why we need to know what the payoff is first. Because then we need to, whatever it's giving them, we need to replace that. Because just eliminating something out of our lives is very, very, very difficult. And it will be so much easier when we have a replacement that works for them. And then we do a small experiment doing that. And we co-create it together so they don't feel like you're just deciding everything. Okay? I'll send that list. I'll send it, put it in the classroom. That's a lot. I would love to do just like so much longer because there's so many more things. I love this topic, so I hope you enjoyed it. We'll leave it at that. I'll leave you. Maybe it was a bit of an information overload and stuff. You don't need to like study this. You just take one takeaway, and you go because your subconscious has heard it, and just go do the best that you can. And remember that passionate state. You will not be wrong with passion. Okay, that is your body decoding, this is your path, right? Try not to get frustrated. Look at it. You act on your passion. You take it as far as you can. for as long as you can until you think you can take it no further, with absolutely no expectation of what the outcome has to be. Because when you're attached to the outcome, you're going to freak out if it doesn't work. You just do it because you're passionate. I tell you, with our community, the school community, when I flipped that switch not very long ago, it started to go from being a painful process that I had to do to being so much fun, because all I did is show up and be passionate about the thing that I love instead of think. And then if it went different way, I was moving, I was flowing with the stream instead of working against it. Okay, so you act on your passion, take it as far as you can, for as long as you can, until you think you can take it no further, with absolutely no expectation of what the outcome has to be. That will put you in a pole position to be successful with this, right? Okay, so I'll leave you at that. Tomorrow, last session, will be short one. Tomorrow's is 30 minutes, smooth. I will show you a little bit about the academy and stuff. But yeah, if you have any questions that you want me to cover tomorrow and stuff, then drop them in the comments. I read all of them, and we probably have some time to do that. Okay? Cool. Exciting. All right. I'll drop these things in the classroom so you have it if you want to read through it again. Okay? Cool. Have a lovely Saturday evening, and see you tomorrow. Same time, same place, just 30 minutes tomorrow. Yeah. Cool.